Welcome to the Red Raven UAS podcast.
We're here to help you navigate the pretty complex world of unmanned aerial systems. At Red Raven, we work with public safety, utilities, and enterprise teams. And our focus is really on one thing, helping you launch and grow a drone program that's safe, compliant, and actually ready for your mission. We do the consulting, the strategy, and the hands-on training that turns an idea into a real operational tool.
And today we are jumping into it's arguably the biggest shift in public safety tech that we've seen in years. Drone as first responder, you'll hear it called DFR.
Yeah, it's fundamentally changing what first responder even means. For decades, that was the police officer, the firefighter, the medic first to arrive.
Right, boots on the ground.
Exactly. Now, very often, it's the drone that gets there first.
Yeah.
It gives you these critical, immediate eyes on emergency scene before any person has to navigate through traffic.
That concept alone, getting eyes on scene before your people arrive, that feels like the whole ballgame right there. But for, say, a police chief or a city manager listening to this, what does a DFR program actually look like? Because this isn't just a drone in the back of a patrol car, right?
That's the perfect question, because it's not. You really hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
This isn't about an officer spending 5 minutes on the side of the road, pulling a drone out of a case and launching it.
Okay.
DFR is all about automation and infrastructure. So the physical setup involves these secure, sort of weather-protected drone docks. You might hear them called nests or boxes.
Like a little garage for the drone?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And they're placed strategically, usually on rooftops, in areas of a city that have a high volume of calls.
Okay, that makes sense for speed. They're basically pre-positioned launch pads ready to go 24/7. So let's walk through that. A 911 call comes in for something serious. What happens next? How does this process actually kick off?
So the whole workflow is built for speed, but also for, regulatory compliance. When dispatch gets a high-priority 911 call, think a structure fire, a report of a violent crime, a big car crash, the system itself, which is often tied right into the computer-aided dispatch, or CAD,
Right.
it automatically generates an order. It finds the nearest DFR asset, the closest drone dock, and it triggers a launch. That launch and the climb to a safe altitude, that's all automated.
Okay, hold on. I can just hear an administrator thinking, how is an automated launch even allowed by the FAA? Doesn't that require some kind of special permission?
Oh, absolutely. It requires very specialized regulatory approval, and getting that right is, it's a huge piece of setting up a DFR program correctly.
Got it.
But the reason it's so important is that this automation, it just shaves off those critical few minutes it would take a pilot to, say, drive to a safe spot to launch.
And once it's in the air...
Once the drone is airborne and clear of buildings, which usually takes just a few seconds, a certified remote pilot immediately takes over operational control.
Okay. So the robot does the boring, time-consuming part, getting it safely up, and then the licensed human pilot takes over for the actual mission. Where is that pilot sitting? They're not on scene.
No, not at all. They're often miles away. They're typically in a centralized spot like the city's command center, or even right there in the dispatch office. They'll have a big workstation, multiple screens. And this whole process is it's incredibly fast. We are talking about getting eyes on a scene and streaming live video back in, 3 to 5 minutes, sometimes less.
Wow.
Which is so much faster than a ground unit can get there, especially if you're in a dense city or it's rush hour.
That speed is everything. You're literally buying time and information. So once that drone is up and sending video, who sees it? Is it just for the command staff?
No, and that's really key to why it's so valuable. The video feed goes to everyone who needs it instantly. Dispatchers see it, so the information they're relaying to responding units is way more accurate.
Okay.
The officers in their patrol cars, they see it on their mobile data terminals, their MDTs, before they even pull up. Command staff, supervisors, everyone is looking at the same picture, the same ground truth at the same time.
And it just eliminates all that initial guesswork and radio chatter trying to figure out what's happening?
It completely eliminates the uncertainty, yes.
Okay, so let's make this real. Give me a concrete example for law enforcement. A DFR drone gets to a high-risk scene in 3 minutes. How does that change the way officers respond?
It fundamentally changes their tactical plan, and more importantly, it reduces their exposure to risk. So, okay, imagine a call comes in for shots fired or a violent domestic situation.
Right, a really dangerous call.
A very dangerous call.
Huh.
Traditionally, officers are arriving, they might be running into a dark building, and they have no idea how many people are inside. Is the suspect armed? Where are they hiding?
They're going in blind.
Completely blind. But with DFR Overwatch, the drone is already there. The remote pilot can get on the radio and tell the ground team the suspect is running north on foot, or he just threw something behind that blue dumpster, or maybe the suspect is not on the ground floor, he's on the roof.
That's information that could literally save an officer's life. And I imagine it also helps de-escalate. If the situation is actually less volatile than what was reported, they know that too.
Exactly. It works both ways. It reduces liability, and you also get this immediate, pristine aerial record of the scene as it happened. For accident reconstruction or any kind of later review, that is just invaluable.
Okay, so what about for fire departments? Firefighting is all about speed and sizing up the scene correctly in the first few minutes.
Yeah, for structure fires, DFR gives you an immediate thermal and visual size up from the air. A fireground commander needs to know, three things right away. Where's the fire source? How fast is it moving? And is the building structure still safe? In those first couple of minutes, the DFR aircraft is overhead. It's using a thermal camera to pinpoint the hottest parts of the fire. It's tracking how it's spreading. And, critically, it's looking at the roof.
To see if it's going to collapse.
Yes. If the roof is compromised and about to come down, getting that information out immediately prevents firefighters from being sent inside to their deaths.
So it turns that initial size up from, like you said, a risky guess based on smoke into a decision based on real, hard data from the air.
Precisely. And for search and rescue, it's a huge force multiplier. In a large building or after a disaster, the drone can help locate victims so much faster. It lets you direct your teams exactly where they need to go instead of just having them search blindly.
This all sounds incredibly powerful, but it also sounds, logistically complicated. You've mentioned FAA waivers, automated docks, remote pilots. With all those hurdles, why are we seeing DFR adoption just accelerating so much right now?
Because I think agencies are finally realizing that this isn't a luxury item anymore. It's not a nice to have. It's becoming a foundational part of a modern public safety strategy.
Okay.
When an agency commits to DFR, what they're really doing is committing to operational excellence and minimizing risk for their people and their community. They're taking drones from this niche tool that maybe gets used a few times a month, and they're making it a core part of their 9/11 response system, available 24/7.
So the ROI in terms of safety and efficiency is just too high to ignore.
It is. It's undeniable at this point.
That commitment makes sense, but I can see an administrator listening to this and just the complexity of it all. The FAA paperwork, the hardware, training remote staff, it must feel completely overwhelming. It's a massive shift for any organization.
It is a massive shift. And that's probably the biggest challenge we see agencies face. It is not just about buying a drone. It's about building the entire program, the entire framework around it.
Right.
And that feeling of, being overwhelmed, of not knowing where to even start with the regulations or how to justify the budget. That's exactly what we specialize in at Red Raven. We help agencies tackle those huge integration challenges from day one.
So for an agency that knows they need DFR, but they're kind of paralyzed by the details, what's the first practical step? How does Red Raven help them get started on that roadmap?
The very first step, before anything else, has to be strategic clarity. An agency needs unbiased, vendor-neutral UAS consulting. What works for a small rural county is not going to work for a major city.
Sure.
So we help them do a mission analysis, scope the program, build the budget justification for their city council, and then select the right hardware and software that actually fits their needs. It stops them from buying the wrong tech right out of the gate.
That strategic part sounds vital, especially for getting the funding. But then once the plan is there, it feels like the human element, that pilot who has to perform under extreme pressure, that's the next big hurdle.
Absolutely. And that's our other major focus. We provide on-site team training that isn't just about, basic flight skills. It's all hands-on scenario-based exercises built for those high-pressure DFR decisions. The pilot has to be mission ready from day one.
And they all have to be legally licensed pilots, of course.
Of course. That's the bedrock of the whole program's compliance. Every single remote pilot has to have their FAA Part 107 certification. So we have a comprehensive online course that's designed to get staff members through that exam quickly and confidently. Mm-hmm. We cover all the essentials like complex airspace, how to read aviation weather reports, things like METARs and TAFs, because you can't just look out the window when you're flying from a command center. It gives them that solid foundation for legal and safe operations.
So really, whether an agency is just starting to research this or they need to optimize a program they already have, the path forward starts with a clear strategy and ends with certified scenario-trained pilots.
That's the entire structure. DFR is the future, no question. But it requires a solid plan, clarity and, a field-tested roadmap to actually get there with confidence.
That was an incredibly clear look at the DFR workflow and its impact. Thank you so much for walking us through that.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Red Raven UAS podcast. Visit redravenuas.com for consulting, training, and FAA Part 107 certification, and check out the current special pricing on our Part 107 course.